Hey guys, this is Joy back again with another video, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning into my channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. So I'm doing this video. It's very, I didn't write any notes down. I'm really just kind of coming from the heart on this one, and I think you guys would appreciate it. But I just wanted to talk about a situation that happened in my life that I think would help some people. And it took me a while to come on here and talk about it because I was very, humiliated. I was devastated, and I really couldn't believe that that would happen to me. And I was also kind of, I'm not going to lie, because you guys know I'm very spiritual. I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Muslim or anything like that. But I was kind of upset at God for the experience that I had, and I was kind of angry because I didn't understand why I had to go through that lesson. But now that I look back, I see why and how it has helped me change for the better. But it still kind of stings every now and then because I just wasn't expecting it, And sometimes life comes at you in different curveballs to test your strength and to test your endurance. And yeah, I just want to share with you all a story about forgiveness and how it's important and how you could put and use this story in your everyday life, but also applying forgiveness in all areas of your life. And again, this is mainly about relationships, but the importance of forgiveness. And again, when I say relationships, I don't just mean romantic, but I also mean like family. So I'll just go ahead and tell you guys a story that happened, because this has really been something that I've been wanting to come out with, but I finally have the courage to come out and talk about it. So basically, you guys know that I kind of go back and forth to Jamaica. That's like my second home. I love Jamaica. I love the culture. I love the food. I love the vibes. It's just really nice there. And I feel like I am an island girl. I'm definitely going to be going there maybe like the spring or summertime of next year. So while I was in Jamaica, I actually met a guy that I really liked. And I don't know, I just was kind of, I guess, wishful thinking, but, we I think we both actually fell in love with each other. We hadn't really been even knowing each other that long, but some strange, odd reason we fell in love, and it was crazy, like a crazy love that I'd never really experienced before. Because I know that I'd been in love twice in my whole life, but this new love was something that I had never experienced. And so I had did my research, and I found out that we were, in fact, twin flames and soulmates. I really didn't I'm not going to say I didn't believe in it, but I didn't realize that that was what was happening. And so, yeah, it turns out that he was the guy. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't really think he's watching. He may or may not be, but whatever. But yeah, so it turns out that we were twin flames, soulmates, and I realized that's the reason why our connection was so deep. So mind you, I met him last year in September of 2017, and from that point on, we was pretty much together, or I guess we were friends with benefits, or whatever the case was. And I was really, I'm a very caring, understanding person. I'm an empath, and I was trying. I noticed because I was in Jamaica from September to November. I had came back to the States because I was going to work. And I noticed when I moved away, we still kept in contact, but I just noticed that he wasn't, messaging me as much. And, we kind of became distant. I mean, yeah, physically we were distant, but, just emotionally, I just felt him kind of shut down and kind of get cold. And, I had kind of gave him a break because I knew from what I had known, he had 3 kids. And people might say, oh, that's a red flag. But I really kind of overlooked that because I don't know what it was about our connection. I really loved him. I still do. And, yeah, so that was that. But I noticed, like I said, we kind of became, emotionally distant. And up until January I really started to notice like we was even more distant than we had ever been, and I was like kind of reaching out to him to see like, hey, like what's going on, you know. So in February, we were, meanwhile, all along we were planning to work together. We had plans on, he was planning to come to the States, which he actually did, but it turns out that he didn't end up coming to work with me. And I was really upset because I had it all planned out. I was like, oh, okay, cool, we're gonna work with each other, you know, that would be nice, and I would see him every day. But unfortunately, he didn't end up getting a job, and I think it was his karma. But I'm going to tell you the reason why I think he had his karma was because I actually seen online that it was a girl that had her name dash his last name, and I was like, what? Like, why would the person have his last name? It's not his sister. It doesn't look like his sister. They don't look alike or anything like that. And meanwhile, I'm not going to lie, like, the time when I felt like we was becoming even more distant, I felt like he declared his love for somebody, but that person wasn't me. And I was thinking like, what is going on? And like I said, I just kind of ignored the red flags. But long story short, I found out that he was married and that he just got married. And I was heartbroken, and I was like, are you serious? Like, you were married and you couldn't even tell me, like, you know. So I was like devastated, and mind you, he didn't even tell me. Like, I found out through social media. So basically what happened was I found out this in February earlier this year. So what happened was I was like stressing out because I was like, okay, wait a minute, like what's going on? And I had called my friend and I was like, hey, I've seen this and that, whatever, whatever. She was like, girl, you gotta call him because you want to know for sure. You don't want to be guessing about nothing. Just find out. And so I was like, okay. So I call him, and he's like, oh, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh, hey, like, how are you? And he's like, I'm good. And I was like, oh, are you still in so-and-so, whatever? You still, like, in a certain location? And he was saying, like, oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then finally I just came outside. I was like, hey, are you married? And he was like saying, really? Really? Like, you know, really denying it and not wanting to be truthful and asking me why I would ask that and all this stuff. And I was like, you know, you don't have to lie, you know what I mean? And finally he just came out and said it, and he was like, you know, yeah, I am, but I still have feelings for you. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, like, wait a minute, like, oh, I thought I heard something. I was like, you couldn't tell me, like, what was, like, what made you not want to say anything to me? He was like, oh, well, you didn't ask. And I'm like, I didn't ask. Like, you still could have told me the situation, you know, before, you know, we had gotten involved or whatever the case was, you know, because I was intimate with this person, you know, and I think that's what made it hurt the most, because I felt like I was lied to and was deceived, you know, into thinking that he was single when he really wasn't. He already had a situation, you know, and I thought to myself, I was like, that's unfair because you're not even giving me the option to choose. You're like lying to me, kind of putting me in a situation that I don't even want to be in, you know. So I thought that that was unfair, you know. And so, and I'm like, hey, like, that's not something that I want to be a part of, you know. And pretty much, long story short, I told him I wish you the best and good luck, and that was it. And we were done. I didn't talk to him for like a long time, you know, and I was really upset and hurt because nothing like this ever happened to me before in my life. But what was crazy is like our connection was the strongest that I ever had in my whole life. Like, I never felt this way about anybody. And I was sitting here like, why would he not say anything? You know what I mean? So that was that. And then, like I said, I didn't hear from him. Like, he would still like my Facebook posts and stuff. Like, I mean, not my Facebook, I'm sorry, my Instagram. Oh, by the way, I did delete him from Facebook. And I think he's seen it. I think he might have got mad about that. But I was like, I don't care, because I felt like he lied. You know what I mean? So that was that. And then, you know, I was really hurt. And I was like, because I felt like he could have told me the truth, you know. And so, but mind you, I will tell you guys, I'm 29 and he is 2 years younger than me. And I'm not excusing that, but I'm saying he is, a little emotionally immature. That's what I was learning at that time. So, anyways, so on with the story. So, he reached out to me. Let's see, my birthday was in May. He reached out to me in May, and he was just asking me like if it was okay for him to reach out to me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, because at that point in time, I was like, you know what, like I just let it go. You know what I mean? I just like, okay, it's a lesson learned. I took it as a L, like whatever. And I said, hey, it's fine if you reach out to me, like whatever. And then I heard from him again in July, and he finally came out and told me that what he was involved in, he was married, it was only because for the money. And I was like, so you didn't love that person, like you didn't care for that person? He was like, no. And I was like, so you marry a person for money? Okay. Like I mean, no judging, but I mean, some people got to do what they got to do. But again, like I told him, I said I felt like he could have told me the situation before getting involved. You know what I mean? That's just common courtesy. That's what I was thinking. But again, you have to understand not everybody is on that. Not everybody's gonna think like you. So that's another lesson that I had to learn. So yeah, he basically confessed to me that he didn't love the person, that he was only with the person because he felt like he was being taken care of, and that he was looking to get a divorce. And I was like, okay, like just do you, because at this point I was done. I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and be a doormat and wait around. So that was in July. And at that time, in July, I was in Jamaica. I had went back because I was thinking I'm not gonna, just because I had that situation happen, I'm not gonna let that stop me from being in Jamaica because I love Jamaica. So I was there in Jamaica I think I was there for like a month and a few days, and it was the best time ever. And I had a feeling that I was being watched. I had a feeling that he might have been stalking me. And so it turns out he was, because he reached out to me again in September while I was still in Jamaica. And he was asking me how I was doing, and I was saying I'm doing good. And he finally came out and told me that he loved me. And something deep inside of me really believed it. And honestly, I had already knew that he loved me from the beginning, but I just didn't understand why he would do what he did to break my trust and to break the connection that we had. I couldn't like comprehend that. And so excuse me. So basically, I'm like, forgetting I'm in front of the camera, sorry. But it was just confusing, like a contradiction, because I'm like, you're telling me that you love me, but you did this, you lied. And he was just saying that he was sorry, he wanted to make it up. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, just move on, forget about it. And I still haven't really decided. I feel like if he can prove to me that he can change, then I'd be open. But if not, I'm okay with going my merry way. I'm fine, because I felt like, and what I learned was self-love. I learned that to not settle for less. I learned the value of my worth. I learned the value of my time. I know what it is that I have to bring to the table. And I learned to listen to my intuition, like more than ever before. So this was a huge lesson for me. And again, maybe God needed for me to go through this, and now I see. But I guess at the time I was so angry, and I was like, why did this happen? But now I'm starting to realize, I'm like, okay, self-worth was key. God made me realize, like, you got to have your self-worth. You got to have it. But I felt like I had gotten my karma because he came back around. And I do believe that he loves me. I believe that he loves me in his own way. It may not be in a way that I would wanted it to have been, but it was in a way that he knew how. And I really started to have compassion for him, because I'm like, well, maybe his childhood wasn't all that great. Well, maybe, he was going through some things, and made him react that way towards me, made him treat me that way, And I've learned to forgive him because I said, not everybody's perfect. We make mistakes. I forgave myself too. And I looked at the situation with me and this guy. I looked at my childhood. I looked at how the relationship with me and my dad was, and I realized that this guy had some of the same traits as my dad. So I reconnected with my dad, which I'm actually staying with my dad for the current time. And I realized that there was still some wounds that I didn't heal. So, I was able to forgive my dad because I realized that he did the best that he could have done with what he knew and how he knew how to do it. So once I was able to close that gap and say, you know what, it's okay because my dad did the best that he could. So I forgave my dad and I forgave myself. And so that allowed me to be able to forgive him because I realized, I said, he did the best that he could with what he knew and how he knew how to do it. It may have been deceptive, but he was only doing what he knew was right for him. And so I just detached and I said, you know what, it's all good. And it's funny because when I was in Jamaica, we ended up meeting, and there was no hard feelings. Like, I seen him and, we just had a conversation. We talked. Yeah, it was just, I didn't think that I was actually going to see him again. And he was probably thinking the same. And, he's telling me that he loves me and that he's sorry. But like I said, at this point in my life, I'm looking for actions. I'm not looking for words, And if it's meant to be, it will be. But, yeah, that definitely was a huge lesson. So I'm basically making this video to say that forgiveness is everything. If you don't have forgiveness, you could really keep yourself stuck in the past, keep yourself stuck living, being bitter and angry and stuff. And that's not something that I don't want to live my life like that. I always say, like, you got to forgive your parents. You got to forgive your romantic partners. You got to forgive people that have hurt you, because if you don't, then that's on you. Everybody's out moving on, living their life, but you got to forgive, and that was a lesson. God made sure he taught me that lesson. So I'm forever grateful. But yeah, I just wanted to share this story. Maybe it could help somebody else out there forgive and let go and move forward. And yeah, to keep living your best life and keep it pushing, keep inspiring, keep motivating. Yeah, so that's the video. Learn forgiveness. Forgive. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.